Good afternoon, everybody. This is Shay Ali, and I'm here with you on Inspired Online to go all the way out to the States today with the lovely Veenu Keller. Now, when I knew Veenu anyway from like the Tony Robbins crowd, but doing this format, I was really excited at what she stands for and what she's going to talk about. And it's a conversation that I've been having with some of you out there, some of my friends. What do you do right now if you're a parent? I mean, you know, this is a mad situation, obviously, that we're in, and you're going to have to experiment on a whole new style of parenting, whether you're a single parent or two-parent family. There are going to be some challenges. So Veenu is one of the best people to go to on this. She actually coaches on parenting styles and helps lots of parents out there with like some very deep work that she does with them. So we're delighted to go all the way out to North Carolina today and welcome Veenu. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I'm thrilled. I love, especially being like in the UK. I've never been there, so I'm there live now.
You are indeed, and well, we have people watching from everywhere, but you know, London's going to love you as the rest of the world, I'm sure. So I'm going to start with the question that we ask all our speakers for starters, which is, if you had to share your wisdom with the world on stage, we say 10 minutes, here we say in a nutshell, but what would you tell us? What are some of the golden nuggets?
I would say that, in the parenting aspect of life is that how we show up is how our kids are going to learn how to show up in the world. I read a beautiful quote the other day, and I put it on my parenting Facebook group that I have. And it said, it's easier, I'm going to sum it up, but it says like, it's easier to, guide a child, give them like what they need than it is to fix a broken adult. Now in my model of the world, I don't feel like anybody's broken. And it was just like the concept around that, I spent 21 years of my life suicidal. I had suicidal ideations from the time I was 13 until I was 34. And then because of those ideations, and because I didn't have to take accountability, and because I didn't have self-love or self-worth, it showed up in my life. It showed up in my parenting. And it wasn't until I found that self-worth and that self-love that I was able to show up differently. And then I started watching my kids show up differently. And those two boys that I raised by myself as a single mom are now adults. And now I have 7-year-old twins. So it's kind of like God's like, okay, you're good now. Let's give you a redo.
You're telling me you're a grandma.
I am. I have it.
Oh my God, you look amazing. I mean, new business on youth secrets, perhaps.
And I'm going to tell you the secret. The golden nugget is love you. Know you're worth it. I don't wear makeup. I don't do a lot of anything. I learn how to love myself. I do in the world what I love to do. I learn from what I do, like I go into homes and I find out new strategies for parents. I'm like, oh God, that worked well. I'm going to do that at home, because like when I'm in the thick of it, when I'm like really supporting families, I'm not in here, I'm looking, I'm observing, I'm seeing their model of the world, and I'm totally coming from my heart space. And it's almost like it's just divine, right? Like it just comes through me. And I was like, there's times I'm like, oh, that's good. I got to write that down. Like, I don't want to forget that, because you're not in your headspace. You're really out there supporting families where they're at and really taking them to where they want to go, not where you want to go, And so I think like the biggest thing is, focus on you as a parent. Who are you? What does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? And how are you showing up, especially now, right? I mean, one of the things that people say is that if you really want to know how a person's true colors are, look at them in a crisis.
Right.
Guess what? We're there.
Yeah. You take you with you everywhere you go.
Right. And I think as a parent, especially now, like if somebody would have told me, so my oldest is 26. So if somebody would have told me 26 years ago that you're going to be stuck in a house with your kids, with your spouse, 24/7, keep running your business, keep raising your kids, and don't forget, you got to get dinner, and don't forget, you got to eat, don't forget, you got to take, bio breaks. I would have been like, No, no way. No way. And I'll tell you, so I was I just visited my mom in Idaho. And I remember I was getting ready to go on a trip to San Francisco to do this trainer academy. And my mom's like, oh, but do you mind if we just stop and get toilet paper? I'm like, Mom, you have like 10 things of it there. She goes, oh, no, we need to get toilet paper. I'm like, toilet paper? And then I'm looking on Facebook, right? And people in North Carolina, like, we're out of toilet paper. And I'm like, are we in a toilet paper epidemic? Like, I was so mind blown because on March 3rd, this stuff wasn't really going on here in the States. I don't know how it was where you guys
Not
are.
here either. Well, we're still going out at that stage.
Right. And so my mom's like, Veenu, we're going to go quarantine. And I'm like, quarantine? I said, you really think the world is going to shut down, Mom? And she's like, we're headed that way. Within 5 days, the world shut down. 5 days. And it was like a domino effect, right? So like Italy, then UK, then USA, then Australia. It's like just like a domino effect all through the world. And I'm like, okay. So I had two options. I could go in scarcity and say, oh my God, what am I going to do? And panic. Or I can go into creativity and say, wow, what an opportunity to create.
Yeah.
And do you know that not one of my children feel panicked? Not one of them feel scared. Not one of them feel like, oh my God, when is this going to end? The only questions I really get from my 7-year-olds is like, Mommy, do you think I'm going to get back to school? And I said, there's not really an answer right now because we don't know. I said, but what's great is every day at 9:00, you get on Zoom with your friends. So you know what? You get to see your friends. And how lucky are you? You could do it while you're eating a bowl of cereal at your home.
Yeah.
I create the excitement.
Nice.
I create the newness of it.
That's beautiful. I love that. There's lots of questions because I'm also thinking about some of my friends who are in this scenario. So what would you say to, the single parent that suddenly has to be at home? Maybe they're looking after 2 kids who, they've got to run their business and they've got to educate their children right now. What would you say to them right now?
So what's great is I was a single parent for like 9 or 10 years. And, whether you're in an epidemic and closed confined with them, or whether you're that single parent that has to work, has to make sure your kids' needs are taken, and you still want to show up as the best parent you can, right? I mean, because that's our ultimate goal, I would say, and be a universal goal is how can I, guide my kids in the best way possible. So looking at all that, the fact is that you've got to keep a schedule. If you that's one of the things I'm seeing, it's not like I have a nanny here. It's not like I can go to daycare. Even if I did work at home, now I'm working at home with a kid. How do I do it? Well, first of all, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. The other day, my kids ran in here, and you may see them. They run in and they're like, Mom, dinner's ready. And I'm like, oh, and I'm on a coaching call. Things have changed. When they were at school, I would do my coaching calls. Now I'm doing coaching calls all the time. So they don't get wise mom's door closed all day, right? So they're running in, and my clients aren't caring. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, how cute. Is it professional? Probably not. But get your mind out of professional mode, okay? Because we're not there. There's nothing professional about this, okay? So first tip, take away that identity is, I got to be professional. Give yourself grace. Know that you're doing the best that you can with what you got. Do I let my kids watch TV 24/7? Absolutely not. Do I let them now if I'm on a call? Absolutely. Because those rules don't matter. However, I have boundaries. So make sure when you're giving the leniency to screen time or whatever, there's boundaries saying, look, this is happening because I need to get some stuff done and I need you to be occupied. And say it in their language, right? I mean, mine are 7. So I'm like, you need to be distracted is what I tell them. Yes. I said, so when mommy is done, I will open the door and, we'll do whatever. And when there is some type of normalcy, which may say when we get back out in the world, when we can go back to daycare or when we can go back to school, we're going to go back to our screen time hours. Because if you're sitting here beating yourself up like, oh my God, my kids are on screen time, they think I'm such a bad parent. No, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace right now. You know, if you have a newborn baby and you're trying to work, guess what? Babies sleep a lot. Make sure your time around your child's sleep time. And if not, you know, how many times, I mean, I could tell you I had twins. There were many times that I was holding a bottle with one hand, typing with one hand, and had my foot on the other bouncer for the other kid. You know, I mean, you do what you need to do, and you just do it with grace. You know, we have got to learn as parents, and Shay, even as individuals, that, you know, we have to stop beating ourselves up. You know, this is the time to really get creative and say, how can I lift myself up?
Yeah. No, I completely agree, you know, and I love that concept of give yourself grace, because, you know, I've spoken to a few parents out there and people generally, but let's go with the parents that are like, well, you know, I'm not a teacher. I've never taught. Some parents are unfortunately teaching their children in a foreign language right now because they don't live in their birthplace or whatever. But, you know, you're doing great, whatever you're
It's
doing.
also like identity, right? So my husband came to me the other day and was so frustrated. I'm like, what, you know? And I mean, that's the other thing when you're with couples, like, let's just switch to relationships right now. Because there is a struggle. Like, my husband is doing things that he's never thought he would ever do, teach school. And I'm trying to, you know, like, this is my time. Like, you know, like you know, we're big fans of Tony Robbins. And one of the things he says is like, winter is your season. You know, I will not be denied. And what does that mean? It means that while the world is thinking that they're dying, I'm like, no, I'm living. Like, I'm planting seeds. Like, where can I support? Where do people need me? Like, I'm doing free group coaching right now. You know, like, the value of that in itself, you know, is enormous, you know, to get that many people. Right. And I'm not selling. I'm not pitching. I'm just like, here, let me teach you this. And then let's open it up to what you need right now. Every week I'm doing a free group coaching. So again, I'm just giving, right? Like, this is our winter, like, and it keeps me alive. It lights me up. So I'm doing all this stuff all day long. And then at 9 o'clock when I take a breather, and my husband's like, ugh. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He's like, I'm not a homeschool teacher. And I'm like, you're not. And no one's expecting you to. But maybe that you just, you know, you need to find a hat that says homeschool teacher and put on that identity. And what would it look like to you? You know, you're doing the best that you can too. No one is crucifying you. No one is saying shame on you.
Yeah.
And if there's something that I need to do, then you need to communicate. So like, for couples, communication is the most important thing right now. It really is. And don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, if the communication isn't working and you're saying, this is what I need, and he's like, well, this is what I need. And you're like, okay, I'll meet that need. You can't meet it in your way of meeting that need. You have to say, okay, what would that look like to you if I was going to meet that need?
And do you have any tips on how to ask? So yeah, if you know, if you're fortunate enough to like co-parent with someone that you're living with and in love with and all that, you know, how do you stay loving when you're with them 24/7? You've potentially got 1 or 2 kids demanding your attention all the time. You know, how can we ask for what we want in a way that's powerful?
Well, we first have to remember what's important to us, right? I mean, what our kids are seeing in our relationship is what is going into their mind. You know, they're going to grow up and they're going to repeat that. And so one of the things that's so important, it's like I told my husband today, I said, you know, let's see if your mom wants to take the kids for the weekend. You know, it's family. They've been isolated. We've been isolated. So I have no problem taking my kids to their grandparents. I'm like, just so we can have an alone time this weekend. And whether my mother-in-law says yes or no, it doesn't matter, because then we'll say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do movie night tonight. And we're going to do the movie at 6 o'clock. And after that movie, you guys are going to go to bed at 8. And then from 8 on, my husband and I are going to have a date night here at home, whatever that looks like for us. You know, you have to create it. You have to create it. And what is communication? A lot of times people will say, and this is like, if you don't have kids and you're listening to this and you're in a relationship and you might be having some frustration and you're like, why do I have this frustration? Well, because you're with that person nonstop. So what can you do? How could you make it fun? Right? So some tips on making it fun is, what if you guys did, you know, tonight's Mexican night and you guys had a fiesta, you know, and tomorrow's Italian night and you had a fiesta. Hey, Thursday night is our dance night. So you put on some stuff on your TV, you clear the living room, and you make a dance floor for yourself. Get your drinks out, create it. Create the fun in your home now. So people need variety right now, Shay. Like that is really what's lacking is the variety, right? Variety is the spice of life. So how can you bring variety in your situation now? Google, Pinterest, you could Google, how can I bring variety when I'm locked up with my husband, and see what comes up, and then the communication is probably the most important thing. So again, when I asked my husband, I'm like, what do you need right now? And he said nothing. I could say, oh, thank God he said nothing, and go on with my life. Or I could dig deeper and say, well, if you did need something, what would that look like? And you seem kind of frustrated. So something is missing for you, because frustration, anger, sadness is a cue that something is missing, a need's not being met, right? An expectation's not being met. And what is an expectation? An expectation is really a desire for a need to get met, in that situation. So I would say to him, as an example, I'd be like, I see that you say that you don't need anything. And I said, but your energy tells me that you do. And, your tonality tells me you do. Your side tells me you do. So like, if I could do something for you, what would it be? And why does he continue to say nothing? Because he sees me, and he's my hero. So what does he want to do? He wants to take care of me. So he doesn't want to add anything else to my plate, because he sees me working so hard, doing podcasts, doing interviews, doing my coaching, doing my own classes, so I can continue to fill my brain with good stuff during this time. So he doesn't want to put anything else on. So then what do I have to do? Then I have to say, you know what? I appreciate you seeing me. I appreciate you thinking that I have so much to do. But one of the things that I must do that lights me up is make sure that I'm meeting your needs. So if you could just tell me one thing that I can do for you. And, it may be as simple as, I just want you to turn off the computer at 10 o'clock and come to bed with me. It could be simple as that, and so be willing to sacrifice, be willing to dig deeper, be willing to play full out, and be willing to get out of your comfort zone and figure out, what does variety look like for you guys right now?
I love it. So just let's look at the other part of that dynamic, and go on to your children. So if you have one child, that has its, let's go to two children first. How do you keep them getting on all the time? I mean, that's probably mission impossible, but you have two 7-year-olds. How do you ensure that there's harmony there?
Do you want to know like something so weird? Like the twins, I have a boy-girl twin, and they used to fight so much. Like, it's a love-hate relationship. And I would say as they're getting older, it's more of a hate than love relationship. And I'm constantly reminding them, like, oh, what was love and kindness look like? Oh, is that a good choice? No, what would be a better choice? So I'm constantly doing that. In this moment, they've actually become closer. Like, I hear them playing more. I hear them saying, hey, Sam, come look. Hey, do you want to go do this? And the things that they would not want to do together, they're doing together. And I don't know what is happening with that. I don't know if it's just because, like, well, you're all I got, so I might as well get this. I don't know. And I've had some parents ask me, how do you create cohesiveness between siblings, especially at a time like this? So one, make sure they're getting their own space. My young ones have the privilege of having older siblings. So they've heard, I need my alone time. So they're really, really good at saying, I need my alone time. And at that moment, my husband or me, whoever's around, we say, okay, what did you hear them say? One, I'm teaching my children to hear each other by asking them, what did you hear them say? Number two, I say to them, so what does that mean to you? Okay. So if your children are constantly, fighting and bickering, it's a must that you find out what is going on. So like with one family, they said, Veenu, my kids constantly fight. They constantly bicker. I don't know what to do. And I said, you know what? Tell me a little bit about it. And they had, one of the siblings was an older brother just by like a year or two. And, he's 10 and the other one's like 8.5 or whatever. And the 10-year-old was the one instigating. I said, is it possible that he's trying to find that alpha role? Right. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. And I said, so if that is what he needs, what does that mean? What does alpha role mean? It means that they need control. It means that they want to be looked up to. It looks like their significance needs to be filled. So what can you do to support that in a positive way so he didn't have to go after the other sibling to get it?
Right. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really just investigating, right? Like, so when you see that, look at
Mm.
the person who's instigating it and really ask them. It's the same thing. Like, I do a lot of things on bullying and self-harm and suicide. I have a whole movement on that. And it's the same concept with the bully. you
Yeah.
know, a bully and the victim have the same issue, no self-worth or self-esteem. They both want significance. They're both getting it met in different ways. So if you
Mm.
just went to the bully and say, you know what, I see you doing this all the time.
Mm.
What is it that you need? Does that make you feel good inside? You know, how else? And that's an opportunity to teach compassion. It's an opportunity to teach remorse.
Mm.
These kids aren't born with this. We have to teach them. What
Yeah.
a better way. Like, the universe is giving us live opportunity of teachable moments.
That's true. It's true. And what I love about that is you're asking them great questions, you're respecting them as individuals as well, and really digging in deep to see, what your children really need. So, hopefully that's helpful. But I should touch also on only children. There's lots of children that don't have siblings. And I think one of their most common concerns is, they're missing their friends right now. And, they're at home all the time with one or two parents, whatever it is. What advice do you give to a parent to deal with, the sibling that's alone, or the child that's alone?
So I've gotten a lot of that. And actually, like, my granddaughter's an only child, right? And so my son's working, my daughter-in-law's home all the time. And so what she does is, like, she connects, like, we talk all the time. I FaceTime with my granddaughter, whatever. And she keeps her active, go on Pinterest, go on Google, get in mama groups, hear what other people are doing, FaceTime, like, even if you're FaceTime with your girlfriend and she has a 2-year-old running around, you have a 2-year-old running around, the 2-year-olds are like going to come in, they're going to look at each other and they're going to go run and play because they're still doing parallel play anyway. They're not really engaging anyway, but it's giving you that mama connection, right? So what is important right now is social connection. Okay. We are not social distancing. That is such a false statement.
Yeah.
Because I am more social than I've ever been. And that's probably why I'm lit up, because I'm a social person. So it's physical distancing. That's what we're doing. We're physically distancing ourselves from people. That does not mean that we have to, shut off that. Like, as a developmental specialist, social emotional is the most crucial thing of development in a child at any age. So if you're looking at the younger ones, mama, you need to get social connection with people. You need to know that you're doing it right. You need that, whatever it is that's going to convince you that you're doing it right, go grab that right now, because that's going to show up in your kids. As your kids are getting older and you're a single mom, that, was one of the topics last night, actually, on my group coaching was, what do you do? So I just found out about this too. On Facebook, you can do kids messenger.
Ah.
Yes, and everything goes through your account, so you can see, and there's a lot of restrictions. So they couldn't go to YouTube and put something gross on there, right?
Nice.
And you
Okay.
see every friend that goes on there, because it has to come through you. You
Mm.
see every message, you see every, like, video that they make or whatever.
Mm.
It goes through you. So there's huge protection, parent controls. And I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Especially for, like, when you're getting just 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds that have that social communication.
Mm.
So all you have to do is, like, go to, to the, like, when you're Zooming, maybe put it out there to the teacher and say, hey, can you make an announcement that, my daughter is on, Kids Messenger, and this is her, handle on Facebook, and I think it has to come through the parent. So, most of us have Facebook, and then we can put it on their little tablets or their computers or whatever. So that's one way to create that socialness.
Yeah.
And even if your kids are not really engaging in stuff, like, I remember one of the things that I used to do, especially when I was changing my peer group back in 2008, I'd go to the bars a lot, I would drink a lot, I would smoke, and I knew that that was not the person I was going to be. So I stopped that environment and I started staying home. But what I did is I would just get on Facebook Messenger, and I would, do, back then we only had Skype, we didn't have Zoom, and I would Zoom with people. And during that, like, I'd be like, okay, hold on, I'm gonna go make my dinner. We would have dinner together on Skype, we'd have a glass of wine together on Skype. And honestly, just doing that for a long, long time really helped support me and change my peer group, because if you're not finding it out there, get creative,
Yeah.
I heard a speaker, and she's turning out to be one of my favorite speakers. Her name is Marie Forleo.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. She has this book called The Figure Outable. and I have to get it now because that's what she talked about yesterday. Every problem you have is figure outable. And
Nice.
if it's not because it's a fact that your cat died, like you can't figure that out, right? That is not a problem. That is a fact. That is an event. Anything else is figure outable. So this whole situation with us is figure outable, right? We can figure out how to get communication. Like, look at what you're doing alone, Shay. You have this new podcast, interviews with people, you know, and again, you said, well, if we can't do Facebook Live, I take my phone. You figured it out. You figured it out. How could you get this message out to the world? You know, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're an example of that. Figure outable. You know, if you don't have alone time, you can't take self time, figure it out. You know, put your kids in a bubble bath, give them more toys, go get those stupid Crayola things in the bath that's going to keep them. So what, you got to spend an extra 15 minutes putting more Clorox bleach spray, but it'll give you an extra 15 minutes of time to just sit and breathe and maybe meditate. Like, is that worth it? Because it would be worth it to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Everything is figure outable. And I love that. And if you think about a problem, like all your listeners right now, just think about a quick problem and think about the fact that it's figure outable. Where does your mind go? At least for me, my mind automatically goes to solution, 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 solution.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for all of that. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
You know, just the work is with you first as a parent. You know, if your kids are behaving a certain way, if they're not listening, if they're wanting to stay up all night and sleep all day, not do their schoolwork, you know, you have to ask yourself, what boundaries have I put around them? Am I, you know, I just did an Instagram post today on the 3 things to create sustainable change in your life. Consistency, follow through, and accountability.
Nice.
With those things, anything is possible with your children.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. So for parents or aspiring parents, lots of juicy stuff there to bear in mind. Now, if our lovely audience would like to connect with you or perhaps do this group coaching call that you're doing every week, how can they get in touch and find out more?
So my website is veenuinspires.com. That's VEENU inspires.com. My Instagram is Veenu Inspires. My Facebook is Veenu Inspires. I kind of made it easy. And LinkedIn, Twitter, you know, I'm not big. My big platform is probably Facebook, but I do check everything. So if people want to leave a message, if something in here said, oh gosh, like I want to know more, please reach out to me. Like DM me. You know, I will answer you. You know, I will support you. And then I have a parent Facebook group called Parents Uncensored, Real and Raw. And it's just a platform. Again, I'm not pitching anything. I'm not selling anything. I'm really just trying to support families. You know, I put the group coaching there so people can, you know, sign up. I'm doing an Insta Live today at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I put that in there, like any resources we have for parents right now, I'm putting it in there. If you have a resource, please go in there and put it in there. Like, I'm not one of those people that are like, you know, you can't promote. Well, you can promote if you're not selling. If you're promoting a resource, please put it in my group.
Yeah.
You know, please.
Really.
We are all in this together.
Yeah.
The world, right? Like we talk about oneness.
Yeah.
We're in oneness right now.
Yeah. And we just have to help each other get through, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time today. It's been such an absolute joy. And I'm sure we'll help a lot of parents out there. And stay safe, take care of yourself, and I hope to see you again in person sooner rather than later.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much, Shay, for what you're doing, for doing your part. You're such a beautiful person. I love your energy. I love you. And I cannot wait to give you a big hug in person.
Absolutely. Take care. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.